Hello and welcome to round 2 of the Parenting Roundabout podcast. I'm Catherine Haleko and I'm here with Terri Morrow. Say hi, Terri.
Hello.
Usually on this podcast we talk about parenting issues, but once a week Terri and I like to get together to discuss TV, movies, books, and other entertainment topics because it's nice to talk about something other than parenting for a change.
Yes.
So this week we watched another episode of The West Wing Season 5. And we also checked out a new TV series featuring some of our old favorites.
Yeah.
But first, we caught up with another episode of So You Think You Can Dance. So we had our first 2-hour session.
We did.
So You Think You Can Dance. And they paired everybody up because they had 5 men and 5 women, and they paired them all up.
Mm-hmm.
And they had them all. What I liked was that they had them all do 2 dances, one in each person's preferred style. So that was nice. And you noticed, of course, that they made somebody tap dance.
I noticed that. I was so happy to see that. And I think Chelsea should get immunity for the week. I think that should come with a golden pass to week 3. Because that's not easy. I mean, granted, she didn't do that much of it, but still, nobody else had to do anything that hard. That's ridiculous. You know,
and even Nigel said, like, we've never done this before. We never make anybody tap because it's so hard.
Yes, so good for her. And I feel bad for her because they didn't like her, like the one that was in her style. And then it's like, and then she's got to do that for the other one. So she should get a pass, I think.
Yeah. I would like to know if they're keeping them all in the same partnership going forward, because they made such a big deal about being so excited,
they really did.
Who was their partner, and it seemed like so much enthusiasm for if it's only going to be for 1 week. It seems like they're going to stick together, but then they're going to eliminate people, and that means they're going to have to remix them because you vote for them independently. So unless they just happen to both halves get eliminated, then...
no, I think it's just for this week. And I honestly, I thought their reactions were over the top, even if they're together for the entire series. Come on, kids. Every one of them was, I hate everybody else. Thank goodness it's you. It's going to be awkward, if they have to, like, dance with somebody else. Come on. And lots of hugging. So much hugging.
Oh, yeah.
I was afraid that Cole was going to break Hanali with all the hugging. Just man, calm down. She's tiny. She breaks easily. Yes,
exactly. So do you have any favorites or preferred partnerships after today?
At the end there, I was looking at all 10 of them and thinking, I really can't pick any 2 that I want to go home. I mean, I may have favorites or not, or less favorite, but still, I thought they all did pretty well. I liked them, various different parts of their dances very well. And it's too bad that 2 of them have to leave.
Yeah.
So, I wondered why Magda and her partner got the last spot twice. That seems not right. Mm-hmm. But I like their first dance a lot better than their second dance. So maybe it backfired.
So you actually liked their more contemporary one better than their...
Oddly enough, I did, but that wasn't the first contemporary. The one that Cole and Hanali did was very contemporary-ish. Yes. I know I'm in trouble with the contemporary. A couple of hints. One is when the dance has a title. Mm-hmm. Dances don't need titles. And the second is when the choreographer says something like, "It's apocalyptic." It's like, so it's happy, feel good.
Or how about when they give them makeup so that it looks like their faces are dirty?
I know. I kept looking at Cole going, is that dirty face makeup or did he get kicked in the mouth? I'm not sure which, because it looked like he looked kind of stunned and like he had bruising. But I guess
I'm pretty sure that they...
that was apocalyptic makeup.
They deliberately made them look dirty with makeup.
Yes, not my thing. But the jazz, I didn't particularly care for either of the jazz numbers either. So, I don't know. I was, of course, sort of rooting for Jensen mostly because of her sister, but she's very cute. But I'm like, that getup they put her in for the second dance with the garter belts and the stuff, and then they have the nerve, Nigel has the nerve to criticize her on her overt sexuality. Look what you put her in! Come on! She didn't pick those clothes out, Nigel.
Fault. Yeah.
Come on! She didn't design the choreography, she didn't design the costume. Go out there and dance in this slutty costume, but keep it tasteful. But don't look. You looked so slutty in this ridiculous outfit we put you in.
No kidding.
That I resented that. But fortunately, everybody else told Nigel he was full of it. So cool. But yeah. Well, let me ask you. What did you think of the dance with the first dance that's Slavic, is it? And Genesee did with the
hip hop with the safe?
Yeah.
It was fine. I didn't understand why everyone went so insane.
I know! They went, I'm like, sit down! Yeah. I also, I got kind of messed up because I resented it a lot because they had been, for the first three, it was the girls' style. And then for that one, I don't think they didn't say, and now in his style. So I'm looking at this thing and going, they're calling this contemporary. This is his style. This is so unfair. They're making her style look like his style so he doesn't have to do one of those writhing on the floor contemporaries. I object. My notes are all capital letters. And then later on I figured out, that was just based on. Because at one point they said to him, this isn't really your style because you're an animator. And
yeah, so no, it's
what the heck? That's not a contemporary.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, as much as I resent contemporaries, that wasn't it. So I felt a little better about it later when I realized that, yes, he is still going to have to do a writhing on the floor contemporary, right, as should be. And it was so traumatizing, it straightened his hair. But, I didn't see what the big deal was with that.
With the hip-hop one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I've realized more and more that I am not a connoisseur of dance. So I suppose I trust them that they know what they're squealing about, but still. I don't know. Do you have favorites emerging?
Well, I do like Jensen and JJ. And I like Chelsea a little more than I like Evan.
Yeah.
But I want her to succeed, so then I feel like I need to want him to succeed.
I was enjoying in the first one where they were getting the bad criticism for their dance. Chelsea's got quite a death stare on her. I think some choreographer needs to find a way to do it. I mean, she was most of the time, she was looking chipper, like, I'm going to use this. I'm a good sport. Okay, you tell me. But a couple of times she just was looking at the judges like, please burst into flames immediately. I think there's writhing apocalyptic contemporary that could be used to good effect in
that situation.
Meanwhile, I think that the tappers have a liability. I didn't necessarily notice this with Gabby, but maybe guy tappers especially, is that they're used to smiling all through their routine. So Evan is doing the tortured contemporary and everything, and then he flashes his showbiz smile. I'm like, oh, dude.
Yeah, it didn't work that for him.
You got to turn that off when you're doing the tortured stuff. So...
And I don't know, I like Darius more than Magda. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought they were both good.
So if you look at them in pair, looking at them in pairs.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Sometimes harder, so.
Yeah. It was, I enjoyed watching it, and quite often there are a fair number of WTFs in my notes just because I don't know what the judges are looking at necessarily at any given time. But they seem to be having a good time. I appreciated that Vanessa once again has a responsible neckline. I think she must have slipped a 20 to the costume person. Say, never put me in that again.
How am I supposed to concentrate on pronouncing my judgments if I'm
her very slight judgments. Mm-hmm. That was so good is basically the height of her. But a note to Vanessa, watch out for this in the future, please. When you say you did not fail to disappoint, what you are saying is that they disappointed.
You disappointed.
I don't think that's what you meant.
Right.
But watch out for the double negatives there, sweetie. And, Mary was certainly excitable. She screamed more than I've heard her scream any other time.
Yeah.
But
she's known for that, but wow, yeah.
Yeah.
That was rough.
I also was amused in the opening number, which was, typical Ride the Contemporary, but there were so many
glitter.
Yes, but there were so many opportunities in that choreography to just accidentally, through all natural consequences, drop one of your competitors on their head. Many, many opportunities. Oh my gosh, I just tripped and I didn't catch her. What a shame. Now there's 9 of us. So maybe they want to watch out with that as things get more competitive. And many opportunities.
They were being extra nice and like ethical.
I'm very, very nice for them that everybody survived that opening number. So we have an honest crew, but many of the other numbers also gave opportunities to kick somebody in the face should you have felt the need to do so.
Yes.
But
luckily they did not. So.
They did not. Everybody came through just fine.
And from there, we will dance our way over to the West Wing. This week's episode was called Abu el Banat, which means father of daughters, apparently, in,
yes,
I guess, Arabic. I'm slightly unclear, but so in it, all 3 of the Bartlet daughters were appearing at the White House. Sort of not all at once, very
only briefly at the end were they united.
And it was the Christmas episode of this season, the Christmas tree lighting, and the one in the season where there's Christmas music playing in the lobby that people are remarking on from time to time.
Right. Weird for us to be watching in August, but still.
Right. So, I don't know. This one on the West Wing Weekly podcast was kind of a mixed report, but I enjoyed it in the way that Rishi said as kind of one of those day in the life ones.
Right.
And I do like to see the daughters, the family come in. And there were some really good Debbie Fitterer moments in this one.
There were.
So that was enjoyable.
Lily Tomlin earning her paycheck. Yes. Not just passing by in the background with a stack of papers.
Right. And all the scenes between Josh and Doug, the president's son-in-law, where he was supposed to be trying to talk him out of running for Congress, and he just was really failing. So that was quite funny.
Doug. Yeah. Good old Doug. Yeah, it was last week we were disagreeing with Josh and agreeing with Rishi and liking the episode. And this week it was just exactly the reverse. I thought Rishi was being nitpicky and Josh seems to be willing to just go with it. As was I. I did not have a problem with any of the nitpicky things at all. And I felt like there was, it is kind of day in the life-y, but at the same time I felt really clearly that the Bartlets were the A story. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a political A story, but
the family.
I mean, in addition, we've kind of like last week, we kind of got the political house back in order. Everything was back. They kind of won a political battle, which they badly needed to win. Josh got back out of the doghouse. That sort of ended this run of episodes of disarray. This one sort of ended the run of episodes of family disarray. Abby is back and acknowledging that, she loves him and is there for the long run. And the daughters, though, there are problems, as there always are. Zoe is back and able to do things, and the sisters are together for, they're back to sort of being their bickery norm rather than, I guess last time we saw Liz, she was looking daggers at her dad over something huge, not over not helping her. I guess she still is. But, it just seemed like this is the final bow on top of the, all right, Aaron Sorkin, we got out of that trap you put us in. Now we get to go forward with new stories. We've settled up with that terrible, terrible kidnapping and abdication of the presidency mess. Now we go forward. I thought that was the story. And I enjoyed it. And I thought it had both, it had both serious stuff and, what kind of parents were the Bartlets. There's been, Charlie's made jokes about what growing up must have been like for Zoe. And I think Danny has too. But, some serious stuff about that and some serious stuff about political ambition and what you give up in terms of your family when you do that. But also, it's coming, but the scene when Ellie finally shows up
at the table,
at the dinner table is pretty wonderful. And, and then, little heartwarming bit at the end when the three girls are standing together listening to the Christmas music. So I thought it had the things we look for in a West Wing episode. It just was, the main story was personal this time and not political. And the political little subplots were okay. I felt it was pretty resoundingly clear that Bartlet was calling the guy's bluff at the end. I don't think he's really planning to go out and do anything. I think he's saying, fine, you want this fight? I will give you this fight. I know you don't want this fight. So... And, they seem to be feeling, I guess with George, she seemed to be feeling like, why would he say that? Why wouldn't he just fire him right now if he's going to have the fight? Well, I don't think he wants to have the fight, but I think he's telling the guy that.
Right. Like you said, you don't run for office from my cabinet. So if I catch you doing that, that's...
You are counting on my silence, and you can no longer do so. Which is sort of the same as what he, calling the bluff of the speaker last week. It's like, fine, I will let the government stay shut down. I don't care.
Right.
You don't get to play me like this. So it's another reminder that the sheriff is back in town. Dad is home. Right. You can no longer do those things. So I thought it was all in all a fine episode. It was one that I remembered. The theme being father of daughters, and I thought it was fine. I think that Doug is a gigantic doofus, but Liz seems... I share Bartlet's pain that his smart daughters marry guys like Doug. But again, I felt with this one the same way I felt as in the one with the Tom Skerritt thing and Josh, in that in both cases, they used their best arguments after Josh had already closed the door. If Doug had said right up front, hey, I've talked to these guys, I've got this funding, I'm serious about this, here's what I've done so far, what do you think? But instead it's like, I'm the boss's daughter. Right. I'm going to run and you're going to help me. Nobody's going to say yes to that, man. And just like Tom Skerritt's character was like, well, I think that you need to give me this bowl of gravy.
Yeah.
That's not your argument. And then later on, after it's gone bad, then you give the argument that at least has some political sense to it. So I don't understand why we have to do that. And I also
thought that the argument about when the president and Liz were talking about why wouldn't she run, and she was saying how, I don't want my son to be a photo op or whatever. And Rishi and Josh were kind of arguing like, well, if her husband is, it's the same thing. But it's not. And I really think they missed the opportunity to discuss that. It's totally different when you're a mom that runs for office and when you're the president's daughter that runs for office versus just another white guy. It's very different. So.
Right. It absolutely is. Yeah, I felt that too. And I felt bad for Liz and that she, she's seen in her life what that costs and doesn't want to do that. And also the thing about my daughter pierced her face. You could be a dad and just go, girls, what are you going to do, Dad? Yep. If you're the mom, it's going to be, front page of the paper for a month. So, yeah. That's an interesting subplot, and I liked the way it turned out that she was kind of the brains of the operation.
Yeah,
and it's difficult because you can't support him for that reason, but at the same time, in your family, it's going to be a problem. So, the whole thing the whole theme of everything since the kidnapping has kind of been the cost to your family of politics. And this is just sort of reinforcing that as we move on, thankfully, gratefully, with great relief to something else.
Yes.
We interrupt this podcast to remind you to please consider the free Radio Public app for all your Parenting Roundabout listening needs. If you listen to our podcast on the app, we'll get paid a little for each listen and more if you listen a lot.
It's a great way to financially support our podcast without having to actually spend, money. Now on to our challenge round. So why don't we then move on to...
Why don't we do the same?
Instead of a challenge round for the short term, we are watching a new show on NBC called Making It, which is a craft competition, and it's hosted by our beloved Amy Poehler and Nick Offerman.
Yes, it is.
It's, as we had heard beforehand, that this is sort of modeled after or looks a lot like the Great British Baking Show. And boy, does it. I mean, like the setting, it just swapped a table saw and a sewing machine for an oven and a mixer. And it's the same thing.
It's the same in some ways, but different in important other ways that I think I don't know how they get around it. They can't get around it. So dial the Amy Poehler, Nick Offerman cute knob to 12. Which is, not that I'm complaining about that. I'm just saying it's like, you can't have everybody bake the same muffin and then see how they do. It's always going to be comparing wildly different things, and then you get judges' opinions in there, and it's just, you have to just watch it for entertainment. You can't really watch it as a competition. And it's entertaining, so that's cool.
Right. And, in terms of the judging, they weren't the greatest. Like, I feel like it was a good idea to bring in someone from Etsy. Like, how
about like a craftsperson from Etsy?
Right. It's a marketplace, and they brought in the trend person. Yes. So we don't know, what are her real skills.
Also, it appears that Etsy sponsors the thing, right? Because they had a bunch of ads.
It sure seems like it, yeah. So that's kind of weird. Yeah. And I don't know, I didn't love some of her comments. Yeah. Simon Doonan, he's a very creative and talented person and has a lot of accomplishments, and I'm fine with him. But the other woman, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. So. Yeah, it sort of doesn't know, I think, what it wants to be. Is it design contest? Is it a craftsmanship contest? Is it a celebration of the weird little things people make? There was a little bit of all of that, but I don't think Barney's guy can judge a decoupage box that somebody makes. It's what? But you also can't compare giant wooden construction with little decoupage box. But they're both crafts. It's like they need to, I don't know how you can judge things against each other.
Yeah.
And so it can only be subjective. It can't be, this cupcake is perfectly flaky with a delicate crumb, and this cupcake is half baked and collapsed in on itself. You can look at those two things and say, yes, this one wins. Right. But this is a giant heart made of wood, and this is something else. And I liked them. I liked most of them. They all looked pretty good to me. They all seemed to fill out the theme. How do you say that any particular type of craft is better than any other particular kind of craft? I did not care for whatever that felt thing with the football player on it was, but other than that, I don't know. And I kind of didn't get some of that challenge. Some people were doing just a wall hanging, and some people were doing a wall hanging and a photo album. Is it if you didn't use photos in your wall hanging, you had to do the photo album? But then that's more work, so shouldn't that get more points?
They had to do both. But
did everybody have to do both?
I don't think you saw everybody's, but they did have to do both.
Well, that's weird then.
Yeah. Yeah, and that particular challenge, like in the first challenge where they had to make an animal, I thought that the person who won, totally deserved to win. Like, he was the one who made the shadow box with the puppets, and it was so different and creative, you know.
I guess.
It was just a very unique interpretation.
Yeah. But I thought some of the other things were very, very, you know, it's like, I'm like Amy. I'm like, why can't we just give everybody a patch?
Right.
Y'all did good. That's great.
But then in the next one, I totally did not understand why they picked the person that they picked to win. I did not
at all. Even based on their comments, I didn't get it.
No.
And, I mean, it was clear who was going to go home. Right. And unfortunate, because I liked her, and I would have liked her to stay around just for some, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know, just for demographics. But, you know, but she was able to finish her thing. What are you going to, you can't send somebody else home.
Plus she bled on it.
Yes, exactly. Well, I wish they would. I mean, it was cute at the end. They were joking around like she was still there, bunking with them. They should keep everybody.
Yeah.
And just let them help the other people. Mm-hmm. Every week you have more people to help. Finally, it's two people.
Two people.
Each have a team.
Way too many cooks in the kitchen at that point, I would think.
Yeah. I also, another problem I have with this is one I have with every one of these kind of competition shows before. Y'all have heard me say this before. You can go do something else while I go through this part of the podcast. But why does there have to be a time limit? Why does there have to be a tight time limit? Why can't they they're cutting this down for TV. Why can't they have 24 hours? Mm-hmm. You have 24 hours, you have this amount of money, submit a plan, we'll look at your plan. If it's appropriate, you go ahead, you take as much time as you need to make it as perfect as possible. There's no particular benefit. I mean, for cooking, if everybody is cooking the same cupcake, a time limit makes sense. Mm-hmm. But if this person is quilting and this person is making a stuffed animal and that person is cutting wood and this person is, you know, gluing stuff down, it's like, I don't understand why that needs to be other than just TV competitions gotta have a time limit.
And I never heard them say what the time limit was for the second one, the big one.
But then they were counting down at the end. So maybe it was 3 days.
Right.
And now it's just the countdown. I don't know. It's not big on those kind of details, is it?
No. And they could do without, like, having Nick Offerman identified by smell. Like, I mean, it was funny when they had their little pun contest, and it was kind of funny when he was showing Amy different, like, tools and equipment, and she was making, like, you know, he holds up a sewing machine and she says, cappuccino maker? Like,
yeah, exactly. That shtick's gonna get old quick, though.
It's funny for a
possibly
minute, but
within the first episode. As much as I like them. And as they were saying, we listened to the Extra Hot Great podcast on this episode on this, which we'll link to in our show notes. And we're just basically agreeing with most of the things that they said. So I think we're not just being uniquely Grinchy in this stuff. But I would enjoy an hour of just looking at people make stuff and learning about how they make it and seeing the finished thing. And seeing how somebody, you know, made a mistake and maybe, you know, what do you do with that mistake? How do you rectify it? Or justify it? That's interesting. I would just be happy to sit and watch that with no competition. Maybe at the end of the 10 weeks or whatever, you say, looking at the entire bodies of work, you get first place, you get second place, you get third place. That would be fine. They don't need all this competition layer on it. I guess maybe you do to sell it to a network or something, but I don't know. Yeah. That makes me feel bad.
Yeah.
But, and I also, you know, the Great British Baking Show always had like personal stories. You would go home with people and see stuff.
Yeah.
And everybody got a little of that. And that was kind of interesting. I wouldn't mind that here, but I think when you're talking to Guy making his craft and he tells his story about how when he came out as gay, his family sent a black wreath to his office, you know, for their dead son. You can't then eliminate that guy.
Well, and also they kind of just left it there, like...
Yeah, but that's a little too weighty for our feel-good show. I mean, you know, 7 weeks in when we know people and when everybody is telling their difficult story, but week one, I mean, it's and, you know, it's quite the gut-wrenching story, but does it, you know, and now...
Yeah.
What are you making? Oh, you're making a heart. Whoa. What was that?
Well, and his was another one that I thought was much more inventive than the one who won that particular challenge. Like, he had those very cool photographs where he took pictures of people and the sky and put them together. And I just thought that was more more interesting than the big wooden heart.
Yeah, I didn't even think her heart was that visually appealing. It was sort of too narrow on the bottom, and it's all subjective. I just thought it was very crafty. I mean, it wasn't. It was more crafty than artsy. You know what I mean? Like, there's a spectrum there. So there is, and they're not clear as to where they're coming down on that spectrum, I don't think, and. That must make it difficult for the people to know how to conceive their projects.
Well, I think they have to do what their style is, and just...
I guess. But, you can make your style smiley and kitschy, or you can make your style cool and sophisticated. And if they want the opposite end of that, then you should try to do that. Is that laid out in the challenge? Please have giant eyelashes on your craft. Thank you.
We are looking for eyelashes. It reminded me of the eyelashes that you see people put on their car headlights sometimes.
Yeah.
That?
It was.
And they were like the only thing you saw when you looked at that.
They were. And they frankly bothered me a little bit. So, yeah, I thought there were others that were better that they seemed to like better.
Yeah.
In these competitions, the way they edit stuff down, it is not uncommon that the judges seem to be crazy about one person and less crazy about another person, and then the less crazy one wins, just probably because you're not getting the entire range of thought. Right. But they should try to fix that, because if you're watching at home and you're going, huh? What? But they said that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. I do like that they give little badges. I think that's very cute, especially if they're going to sew them to their aprons and have them on.
That's adorable. Very cute. All right. Well, we're going to keep on watching, though.
I am there for the cute. The rest of it, I don't know.
So we'll keep watching that, as well as, of course, So You Think You Can Dance. And The West Wing's next episode is called The Stormy Present. And that's going to be it for our present round 2 today. Please subscribe to our Parenting Roundabout podcast so you won't miss any of our episodes, including our daily speed rounds and weekly group chats. As always, you can find recaps, links, and an opportunity to comment on our website at parentingroundabout.com. Bye, Terri.
Bye, Catherine.
Bye, everyone.